Assalamualaikum everyone and welcome to our presentation on decision science from an Islamic perspective. We'll be sharing with you two important decision-making techniques, project scheduling and linear programming, and how their techniques can be related to practical and Islamic contexts. Here are our group members. I will start by introducing myself. My name is Ardina Balkis binti Muhammad Faizal with metro number 2313812. The other members of our group are Isma, Khadijah, Wan Alif and also Nabil. I will begin the discussion by explaining project scheduling. Project scheduling is the process of organizing and mapping out the sequence of tasks, timelines, and resources needed to complete a project efficiently. It is important because it identifies critical activities and potential delays, provides an estimated project completion time, and helps in spotting potential risks early. Proper scheduling ensures that a project progresses smoothly and reaches its goal without unnecessary stress or confusion. Interestingly, this concept of gradual planning is reflected in the Quran itself. In Surah Al-Furqan, verse 32, Allah says, "The disbelievers say, if only the Quran had been sent down to him all at once. We have sent it as such in stages, so we may reassure your heart with it, and we have revealed it at a deliberate pace." According to Tafsir Ibn Kathir, the Quran was revealed gradually for several reasons. Firstly, the Quran helped strengthen the heart of the Prophet Muhammad SAW during times of hardship and opposition. Secondly, revealing Quran in stages made it easier to understand, memorize, and implement its guidance. Finally, the gradual revelation allowed the teachings of Quran to be relevant and practical according to events happening at that time.
Assalamualaikum. I am Isma Alia and my metric number is 2313346. In this video, I'll be discussing the key concepts of overall project scheduling techniques and how Surah Al-Furqan verse 32 relates to these concepts. To begin, I will explain the key concept of project scheduling techniques such as PERT and CPM. Overall, project scheduling focuses on three main ideas. The first concept is systematic and structured planning. Project scheduling techniques organize complex projects into structured activities within a clear framework, allowing better coordination and monitoring. The second concept is time-based and sequential scheduling, where activities are arranged according to the logical order and timing to ensure tasks are completed efficiently. The third concept is strengthening implementation and control. Scheduling techniques helps maintain control throughout the project, supporting stable execution and successful completion. Having discussed the key concepts of project scheduling techniques, I will now explain how Surah Al-Furqan verse 32 relates to the first concept of systematic and structured planning. Surah Al-Furqan verse 32 explains that the Quran was not revealed all at once, but in an organized and deliberate manner. This supports the concept of systematic and structured planning in project scheduling. Just as the Quran was delivered with careful structure, project scheduling techniques emphasize organizing tasks within a planned framework to ensure clarity and effectiveness. The verse highlights that meaningful outcomes are achieved through orderly planning rather than rushed execution. Next, the verse also highlights that revelation occurred gradually over time according to divine wisdom. This aligns with the time-based and sequential nature of project scheduling techniques, where activities are distributed across an appropriate timeline and arranged in logical order. It reinforces the idea that effective implementation depends on delivering tasks at the right time and in the correct sequence. Finally, the verse states that the gradual revelation of the Quran was intended to strengthen the Prophet's heart. This relates closely to the purpose of project scheduling techniques, which aim to strengthen project implementation through structure and control. Thus, by maintaining organized scheduling and continuous oversight, projects can remain stable, manage challenges effectively, and achieve their objectives successfully.
Here is a simple example and illustration of project scheduling based on student committee organizing a 2-day accounting conference. 6 months prior to the event, the committee focuses on planning by forming the organizing team, deciding the conference team, and confirming the date, venue, and budget. 1 month prior to the event, final preparation takes place such as intensive promotion, participant registration, confirmation of speakers, and logistical arrangement. And finally, on the D-Day, the conference is conducted over 2 days, covering registration, keynote session, panel discussion, workshop, and closing activities.
Now we are moving to the second technique, which is linear programming. So, what is linear programming? Linear programming is a mathematical technique used to find the best possible or optimal outcome when dealing with limited resources and certain constraints. For example, it can be used to determine maximum profit or minimum cost in a given situation. This method is widely applied in various fields such as business, economics, logistics, and even agriculture. Linear programming helps in making optimal decisions by comparing different alternatives while still staying within certain limits such as budget, time, or raw materials. Simply put, if you are trying to make the most out of what you have, linear programming is an effective method to achieve this goal. Now, let us move on to the importance of linear programming. So, why is linear programming important? Let's look at its key benefit. First, linear programming helps in maximizing profit by determining the best combination of product, service, or strategies. This allows business to generate higher revenue while minimizing waste. Secondly, it helps to minimize costs. Linear programming ensures that no extra money, effort, or resources are used unnecessarily. This directly contributes to financial efficiency and also supports sustainability. Thirdly, linear programming helps in improving productivity. By allocating resources such as labor, machines, and materials in the most efficient way, overall productivity can be significantly improved. And last but not least, linear programming encourages logical and strategic thinking. This is because it requires you to clearly define your objective and constraints. Such a structured approach forces you to think logically and consider all possible outcomes before making a decision. This verse is closely interrelated with Surah Al-Isra ayat 27. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا. So the direct translation of this ayat is, indeed the wasteful are brothers of the devil, and Satan is ever ungrateful to his Lord. So to clearly understand this verse, we bring you Tafsir At-Tabari. In this verse, At-Tabari says that wastefulness does not simply mean spending a lot of money. Rather, it means using a wealth in the wrong or sinful way. Even small amount of wealth, if spent wrongly, is considered waste. At the same time, spending a large amount for good and a lawful purpose is not wasteful. This shows that Islam focuses on how wealth is used and not, not how much is spent. At-Tabari also said that Allah described wasteful people as brothers of the devil because they behave like Satan, who has ungrateful for Allah's blessings. In the same way, when people misuse wealth, they show ingratitude for what Allah has given them. This verse reminds us that wealth is not absolute ownership. It is trust from Allah and we are responsible for how we manage it. Using wealth wisely is a sign of gratitude, while wastefulness reflects a moral failure. May Allah guide us to use His blessing responsibly in ways that please Him.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Hadijah Bitama Issa with metric number 2310326. And for the next slide, I will be explaining about the key concept of linear programming. First, the objective of linear programming. The main objective of linear programming is to either maximize benefits such as profit or output or minimize costs such as expenses or time. This is done by using limited resources efficiently, ensuring that no resources are wasted. In other words, linear programming helps decision makers determine the most efficient way to achieve a desired goal. Next is key constraints. Constraints represent the limitation or restriction faced in a decision-making problem. These may include limitation on budget, time, labor, and raw materials. Constraints are important because they define what is feasible and realistic. Any solution chosen must strictly satisfy all these constraints. And lastly, the optimal solution. The optimal solution refers to the best achievable outcome that satisfies all the constraints while fulfilling the objective function. It is not just any solution, but the most efficient and effective one within the given limitation. This solution represents the ideal balance between maximizing benefit or minimizing costs and respecting real-world constraints. Next, I will be relating the key concept of linear programming with Surah Al-Isra verse 27. Surah Al-Isra verse 27 condemns israf, which refers to the wasteful and irresponsible use of resources. Islam teaches that whatever resources we have should be managed wisely and used only for meaningful and beneficial purposes. This principle is clearly reflected in the objective of linear programming. Linear programming aims to maximize output or minimize costs by making the most efficient use of limited resources. It avoids unnecessary use and ensures that resources are not wasted. In this way, both the verse and the concept of linear programming emphasizes efficiency, moderation, and responsibility. They promote making decisions that lead to the best possible outcome while ensuring that resources are used optimally rather than excessively. Next, in linear programming, constraints reflect the limited resources available such as money, time, labor, and materials. These constraints act as boundaries that prevent overuse or misallocation of resources, ensuring decisions remain realistic and responsible. This directly mirrors the teaching of Surah Al-Isra verse 27, which warns against wastefulness. Just as the verse encourages moderation and discourages extravagance, constraints in linear programming enforce limits, guiding resources to their most necessary and beneficial uses. In essence, operating within these constraints in linear programming is like practicing ethical moderation. It aligns efficient resources management with the moral principle of avoiding excess and waste, just as Allah commands in the Quran. And finally, the optimal solution. In linear programming, the optimal solution represents the best outcome that satisfies all constraints. It ensures resources are used efficiently, avoiding waste and unnecessary excess. This directly reflects the teaching of Surah Al-Isra verse 27, which warns against extravagance and wastefulness. Just as the verse encourages moderation and responsible use of resources, the optimal solution guides decision-making to achieve balance, which is to maximize benefits without overstepping limits or squandering what we have. And that is all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Next, moving on to the illustration of linear programming. A small cafe sells two types of drink, coffee and tea. Each cup of coffee gives a profit of 3 ringgit, while each cup of tea gives a profit of 5 ringgit. So let X represent the number of cups of coffee sold and Y represent the number of cups of tea sold. So our objective is to maximize profit, which is given by the equation profit equals to 3x plus 5y. However, the cafe faces several constraints. First, it can only produce at most 120 cups of drinks per day. Second, it must produce at least 70 cups in total to meet demand. Third, it must sell at least 40 cups of coffee daily. Lastly, the value of x and y cannot be negative. On the left, we have a graphical representation of our constraints. The shaded area is our feasible region. This represents every possible combination of coffee and tea the cafe can sell while staying within its operational limits. The corner or vertex of the shape are our points of interest. Then, to find the maximum profit, we test these corner points using our objective function, which is z equals to 3x plus 5y. As shown in the calculation, the point 2000 yields a maximum profit of 560. Therefore, to achieve peak financial performance under this constraint, the cafe should aim to sell exactly 20 cups of coffee and 100 cups of tea. In summary, both linear programming and project scheduling reflect Islamic principles that emphasize wisdom, discipline, and responsible management of resources. From an Islamic perspective, as highlighted in Surah Al-Isra, verse 27, avoiding waste and ensuring efficiency are essential values. Linear programming supports this by guiding optimal decision-making to maximize benefits and minimize unnecessary use of resources. Similarly, project scheduling promotes systematic planning, proper time management, and effective control to ensure objectives are achieved smoothly and responsibly. Together, these concepts demonstrate how structured planning and optimization are not only practical management tools, but also aligned with Islamic teachings on accountability, balance, and purposeful action. That's all for our video presentation. Thank you for watching.